Good morning. My name's Adalis, and I'm getting ready to have an artsy hangout with a friend and two new people that I've never met before. I think a part of me is kind of nervous about this meetup since I haven't really met anyone brand new in so long, and now meeting two people and spending a few hours talking and crafting with them feels way more daunting than it should. I think one of the biggest things on my mind in preparation for this was just simply deciding what to wear. I'm confident in my style and I know it feels authentic to myself, but you ever just get that feeling like, what if I'm just not dressed for the vibes? I started wondering what the other girls were gonna wear and wondered, should I change the outfit I planned, but I decided to stick with it anyways. The whole thing's kind of making me think of so much involving my style and how it's changed over time, and maybe some of you can relate. So here's a little bear's style evolution. Hope you guys enjoy it. So I woke up much earlier than I needed to today just because I wanted to get a head start on my day, and I actually wanted to get ready and do some reading and writing at Starbucks before I left to my friend's house. So before I left, I decided to write in my prayer and gratitude journal. I wrote about this meetup and asked that I'd be open to this meeting and allow myself to receive new friends if that's what I need in this season. I watched the sunrise from my balcony and I knew that it was finally a good time to leave the house since it wasn't as dark as before, and I don't generally feel safe when it's dark and I'm alone, so better safe than sorry. I got ready to go and headed out the door and went down the street to a pretty close Starbucks here. And then this little moth was absolutely losing his mind, so I decided to give him a little space and sit at the next table rather than the nice corner table, but it's all good. I started The Artist Way yesterday, and so far it's a great book about spiritual creativity and nurturing your inner child and inner artist. And as I read the book and wrote my morning pages, I started thinking again about how I present to others, even right here in Starbucks. Like, do people find it weird that I have bear headphones on? Do my platform bear Crocs seem too much for people just walking by? Does what I wear create an idea in people's heads about my personality or what I represent? And will the girls I'm meeting today appreciate my style, or will they think that I'm just overstyled for something as simple as a crafting day in a friend's apartment? But where is all this coming from? Like, I know I love my outfit, but why do I care so much to know that other people see the vision that I see? What about our personal style can be so important to us, yet so important to others as well? Or so we think. When I was younger, style helped me navigate the world through trends because I guess I was too afraid to step out of that box myself. I grew up giving very much tomboy. I think the reason I personally did that was because I didn't want to be perceived at all. I thought it would be a way to make me blend in, I guess. And then in middle school, I started dressing more girly. I started experimenting with eyeliner, straightened my hair a lot more because other girls around me were. And it wasn't really about fitting in to make others like me, but I think I was doing it because I thought it would make me as happy as it seemed to make other girls. So growing up, I felt like I was chasing and changing my style inspiration, basically from one Disney star to another. I realized that throughout this process, I still knew absolutely nothing about my personal style. Cue 9th grade. Going into high school at 13 was not my brightest moment as far as style. For some reason, I really liked wearing red lipstick. I was taken hostage by knee socks and Uggs. I wasn't able to walk a day on this earth without having an outfit matching bow in my hair. I had those awkward broken nerd glasses. Please tell me y'all had them too. I can't be alone in this, but apparently my goal was to dress like an extra in the Party Rock Anthem video or something. In 10th grade though, it got a little different. I morphed into the Zendaya snapback era with the sneaker wedges, varsity jackets, super skinny jeans. Not to mention a little dab of One Direction obsession, but I give my younger self grace because I was in the $5 or less section of Forever 21 and Ross, and I did the best with what I could at the time. In 11th and 12th grade, my style became a bit more molded by what I saw directly around me rather than the celebrities I was seeing. I realized that I had absolutely no idea what suited me, what looked good on me, or what made me feel like my most authentic self. I was just hopping from one trend to another, from one girl's look to another, and my style was a combination of everyone else's around me. Now that I'm older, I think people my age have found their specific sense of style, if not are much closer to it than they were in high school. I asked my friend how long she had known these two other girls, and she said she met them in college, so I was hoping if she relates to me and she met them pretty recently, then maybe I would relate to them too, which helped me feel a little better for some reason. And then it happened. I got to her house, I played with her cutest puppy in the world, and I met the girls. I think it was scary to talk to people for hours, being that it was the first time meeting them, but I'm glad I was open to it and took the chance. And since we all recently graduated and we're talking about school, I started to think about how that has influenced my style as well. I went from having probably 2 dresses in my closet that I just put in rotation every time I was having to go to some event, and then I had almost 50 in my closet, so it was a big change. But even though I had found like that one style that I thought I had, I still had like 20 different styles within that. I had a turquoise, fully sequined mini bodycon dress, and then like a poofy pink dress, striped and floral dresses everywhere. They had cutouts and ties, like none of them matched, so it just didn't really feel cohesive anyway. And then comes these last few years of college where I felt like I knew what I needed. It was just something more sustainable that I could sit in for a while. Cute TikTok. How was I supposed to find something sustainable when I feel like I'm doing style wrong every 5 minutes? And I feel like an important point in all this is the fact that I grew up with a boyfriend. I liked him at 13, started dating at 15. We stayed in that relationship until I was 21. So inevitably, a lot of my fashion choices also revolved around him. What I thought he would want me to wear, what I thought he liked to see girls in, what I thought made me look cute for his sake. And it wasn't until we broke up that I realized that I don't really have an idea of who I am or what I like. And I can't necessarily blame anyone for that, but it's just important to consider how having a boyfriend so young for such a large period of my life really altered the way I valued my own opinions when it came to how I wanted to present myself to others. Another thing to consider was my environment, specifically the church environment. I don't feel like I was judged uniformly by like everyone in my faith, especially not by those my age, but there were adults who would very much make me feel like I was a harlot because I happened to wear a dress with heels. One person asked me to literally pull up my dress to prove to them that I had shorts underneath it. Another time I was taken out of the church during a sermon by someone who was close to me. She requested that if I had an extra tank top or something in my car, in my bag, to put it on since the dress showed a little bit too much of my back. Like, what? And that's not a jab at Christianity or anything at all. This isn't really meant to impose anyone's beliefs on modesty, but I feel like as a child it wasn't the best thing to go through, feeling like I was wrong for wearing something that I felt pretty in that honestly was not harlot-y in the slightest. I wouldn't say that the experience is necessarily traumatizing to me, like I wouldn't use that word, but I would say that it definitely led me to question myself before I left the house every day, because I always felt like I had to dress for someone else's approval, or I was like always under some watchful, like judgy eyes, and I had to dress to represent something bigger than myself, which was so much pressure for a little bear. Yeah, I believe that that's true to an extent with God, but I would have rather been allowed to find that relationship with God and learn to hear his correction if need be, than to be corrected by others in a way that made me feel ashamed. And it's funny to say, but I probably do dress more modestly now than I did when I was younger, but I think it's because it makes me feel warm and cozy, not because it's making me feel ashamed or paranoid that someone's judging me.
Maybe I'll do a separate video on modesty too, but I don't feel like God ever corrected me for the way I dressed before, which is what makes me feel even more confident that this is my personal style, because it wasn't something I felt like I had to do. It was something that I felt free to do. But for those of you who do feel like your style has been guided by your God, that's just as valid, since you feel like it's something you're doing out of love for a being that you feel cares about you. As long as you're not basing it solely off the comments of the believers around you. And for those of you who don't believe, you may also be sure your style is true to yourself because you chose it for yourself. Which, same thing on your side, as long as it's not something you feel was guided solely by the trends around you, like we were discussing earlier. In any circumstance, you have to evaluate where your values are coming from, whether that be your inner child, your belief system, friends and family, past relationships. Anything can affect you. And it's important to explore those possibilities. Ask yourself what's really guiding all this versus what should be guiding all this.
So after I kept thinking today about why all this mattered to me so much, I remembered that none of it really matters at all. So what if the people look at me funny in Starbucks, and so what if the girls didn't share my aesthetic? What mattered is that I felt confident and comfortable and representative of what I want to share with the world. At the end of the day, the truth is we come into this world not knowing one single experience of who we are, and we're taking small steps each day to get closer to what that actually looks like. All we need to do is feel comfortable living in that uncertainty for a while, and if you're not there yet, then trust that one day you'll feel comfortable enough to love yourself in whatever style feels authentic to you and matches your spiritual or non-spiritual journey at that time. If it's meant to change, then you let it. Allow yourself to grow into what is inevitably going to come. Be proud of yourself throughout the process. Be gentle with your heart as it embraces the sense of comfort in your own skin. And if you're already there, then that's amazing. It's not easy to navigate this world of constantly evolving outward appearances. And if you've managed to find what matches your inner peace, then you go, little bear. See you guys soon.